Sorry for my brief absence there, taking care of business. Assemblymember Lowe, welcome. Thank you for being so patient.
Of course. This is just the work of the House, as you know, so very much appreciate the opportunity. First off, let me start off by thanking the chair and the committee for working with me and my staff on this bill, and I would like to accept the committee's accepted amendments. As you well know, this bill simply focuses on parity in equalizing the playing field and essentially trying to ensure that we have a competitive environment in the transportation arena. With me here today is Jennifer Tannehill, representing the Taxicab Paratransit Association of California. I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members. Jennifer Tannehill with Aaron Reed and Associates on behalf of the Taxicab Paratransit Association of California. We'd like to thank the committee for its work on this issue and the insightful informational hearing that it held last February, which has really led us to this point. As we have worked over the last several years to bring consumer protections to the transportation for hire industry, the legislature has requested that the taxi industry make changes to the way it operates in order to better compete, rather than relying on rather than applying current rules for taxis to the other models of for-hire transportation. We've heard that request and have worked since last year to create a new regulatory structure that will allow taxis to better compete. AB 650 is a result of those discussions and a starting point to updating the taxi business model. Bill Rouse with LA Yellow Cab is with me today to testify in support.
Good afternoon. William Rouse, representing the Taxicab Paratransit Association of California. Mr. Chairman and members, it's an honor to be here with you. When the PUC created the TNC category in 2013, it created an unlevel playing field that threatens the very existence of the taxicab industry today. 3 years later, there really is no debate today about whether there is an unlevel playing field, and there's also no debate about whether that unlevel playing field was created by the state. The state needs to address this issue. Since the time of the PUC decision, the taxi industry has attempted to apply what we believed were common sense rules to the TNCs in order to level the playing field, but all of that was without success. And in rejecting our proposals, the legislature has told us that it wants to address the unlevel playing field, but not by applying taxi rules to the TNCs. Instead, we've been told that the playing field should be leveled by changing the regulatory burden on the taxi industry. With their lax rules, the TNCs are beating us in several critical areas. One is price, where our prices are regulated by cities. One is scale or fleet size, where our fleet sizes are strictly restricted by cities. And then one is the lack of city boundaries and the ease with which the TNCs cross city boundaries, and contrast to the deadheading that we have and the inefficiency that goes along with that. We cannot wait to go to 400 separate cities in California to level the playing field. We need this relief now. This bill will come closer to leveling the playing field in the shortest time possible by moving the regulation of taxicabs from cities to the state, so that all models for hire transportation will be regulated by the same entity. In addition, having the two business models regulated by the same entity will ensure the important objective of having some rationality between the rules that apply to taxicabs and TNCs. We know that a number of concerns have been expressed about the details of the bill by the PUC, by the League of Cities, and even by some of TPAC's own members. We look forward to working through these issues toward a final bill that accomplishes a level playing field, but addresses as many of those concerns as we possibly can. We respectfully ask for an aye vote on AB 650, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have.
Good afternoon. My name is Tracy Porter. I have been driving a cab in the city of Los Angeles for over a decade. I'm supporting this bill for the very same reasons that Bill brought up. Is the fact that when I drop off a customer, I can't pick up in that area if it's outside of Los Angeles, such as Beverly Hills, Long Beach, Santa Monica. I have a rapport with my customers. I've actually visited customers in foreign countries because I've struck up a rapport in my cab. But because if I drop them off in Orange County or Long Beach and they want me to pick them up or give a tour or whatnot and so forth, I cannot legally pick them up, which is not fair. We have a level playing field, but it's unleveled for me because if I pick up in a city that is not regulated by my area, which is LADOT, then I cannot, I lose money. So if there's supposed to be a level playing field, how can I compete with companies that like Uber and Lyft that can pick up and drop off anywhere, and I cannot? My name is Tracy Porter. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else in the public who would like to speak in support? Please line up with the mic and just state your position, your name, and your.
Larry Silva, I'm the general manager, Yellow Checker Cab Company in San Jose. I've done a lot of outreach to Santa Clara County taxi companies, received overwhelming support for AB 650, and we ask you to support it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Roel Mazariegos, and I'm a president of Fiesta Taxi, operating in southeast Los Angeles. And I completely agree with these guys, so please support this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joe Parrish, San Jose cab driver. Present time, I have to purchase 7 different licenses in order to run my business in one county. I support AB 650.
Chairman Wessel, Victor Caballero with Sacramento Yellow Cab. I'm the general manager here in Sacramento. I am here in support of AB 650 with the caveats that Mr. Rouse made with respect to, there are some issues with respect to the bill by some of the board members at TPAC. However, we do support it strongly, and we also recognize that the PUC has some changes that they'd like to see as well. So again, I ask for your support.
Okay. Do we have any opposition? Opposition, if you'd like to come forward. Okay, well, he didn't come forward, but I asked for support. Just state your name and your position.
My name is Preet Mon. I'm from Santa Clara County, cab driver, and I support this bill.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, now opposition. You guys want to, however you like, sir. You want to come forward?
Thank you again, Chair Wessel, committee members, Mark Gruberg, and I'm speaking on behalf of the California Regional Council of the Taxi Workers Alliance, which consists of Taxi Workers Alliance of San Francisco, San Jose, and Los Angeles. And we were all members of the National Taxi Workers Alliance, an affiliate of the AFL-CIO. This bill would be the most enormous change in taxi regulation in our lifetime, so I hope you'll hear us out on this. The first thing I would like to call to your attention is the state auditor's report of 2014 about the CPUC. And I'm just going to read you the subheading. It, meaning CPUC, fails to adequately ensure consumers' transportation safety and does not appropriately collect and spend fees from passenger carriers. And there's 50 pages in which this is explained. So giving taxi transportation over to the CPUC just doesn't make any sense. The president, Michael Picker, says he doesn't want the responsibility. The CPUC is ill-equipped for it, and it lacks the resources to regulate and especially to enforce. And we have seen this. I am currently a taxi driver in San Francisco working for Green Cab. I've been doing it for 30 years, and for all of those 30 years, we have seen the CPUC fall down in its regulation of the limousine industry. And we've seen years and years of rampant violations that were never enforced against. Now the Commission has taken upon itself The TNCs, 180,000 drivers and vehicles statewide, 37,000 of them in San Francisco alone. And it's not doing any better job with them than it has with the limousines. And in fact, it was the one that created this unlevel playing field. It's failed to take into account matters of enormous public concern, such as service to the disabled and protection of the environment. There's no rules that TNCs have to follow on these issues. And you can expect the same for taxis. These important protections are going to go by the wayside. And beyond that, taxi regulation, one size does not fit all. The service needs are very different in scale and kind between rural or suburban areas and intense urban environments where there are large numbers of tourists, business travelers, nightlife, and crime. Driver training matters, congestion management matters, air quality matters. Both San Francisco and Los Angeles have strict clean air rules for taxis. These rules should not go by the board. So we wanted to propose an alternative. We recognize that there is a genuine issue here, which has to do with the permitting issues that go from city to city and town to town. The alternative that we're proposing is county-level regulation. It will address multiple permitting requirements. It will allow regulations to be created to meet local needs and concerns and priorities, like service to the disabled, like the environment, like the health of the local industry and the well-being of taxi drivers. And if a driver or a company is faced with a permitting issue or disciplinary issue, they won't have to deal with some faraway bureaucracy. So for all of these reasons, CPUC regulation is a bad idea.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barry Korngold with the San Francisco Taxi Workers Alliance. We recognize the problems and have sympathy for our brothers and sisters in the rest of California, but we feel this is the wrong approach. Rather, to level the playing field, we should be raising the standards of TNCs rather than lowering the standards of taxi service. And one of the reasons why taxi service needs to be regulated on a local level is because it affects different cities differently, mainly due to the congestion it causes, because to provide this on-demand service, you have to be out there making yourself available, causing congestion and staging in populated areas, and this affects different cities differently. Things like price controls, which would not be regulated at all under this bill, is really a protection not just to consumers so that they know what they're going to be paying, as Senator Wetzel brought up in another hearing with your bill, that if you go to a restaurant and you pay $10 to get there, you want to know it's not going to cost you $60 to get home. It protects taxi drivers who are mostly independent contractors and not protected by minimum wage laws. So it protects us by the city setting a rate that we have to charge. We can't charge less than that. It protects us from destructive price competition that by big companies that are maybe valued at $50 or $60 billion. As far as safety, our vehicles are inspected right now by a government entity, not by our cab company or by a shop that you can bribe the mechanic. And we feel these standards should be brought to the TNCs rather than getting rid of them for taxis. And one of our big objections to this whole creation of TNCs is they're providing the exact same service without the regulation. So it's basically deregulating the cab industry, which is what this bill does, and it just accelerates the race to the bottom. And so we propose that rather than regulating it by putting it under the CPC, why don't you regulate it by the counties instead of by cities? And then this driver who's paying 7 different licenses in one county would just pay 1. And maybe you'd have to deal with a few counties, but it wouldn't be insurmountable, and somebody would be regulating it and enforcing it. Cities also have the power to enforce things, and the CPUC has zero capability of that. So we oppose this bill unless amended.
Very well. Anyone else speak in opposition?
Sylvia Solis on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco and the Office of Mayor Ed Lee. We do not have an official position on the bill. However, we do have some concerns, and we would like to see some technical amendments to address those surrounding the language regarding the exemption for San Francisco to continue to regulate taxi cabs as well as other vehicles such as jitneys, local tour bus operations, and others. We would also like to see clarifying language pertaining to the insurance requirements, as we would like to keep our existing authority to impose higher insurance limits. And thirdly, we would also like to clarify the definition of taxi cab transportation carrier as noted in the bill, as we believe it needs more clarity. So we will continue to work with the author as the bill moves forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Ronnie Verdugo here on behalf of the League of California Cities. We have very significant concerns with the bill. We understand that the author is willing to take the committee's amendments. We haven't seen those amendments in print yet, so we want to continue to work with both the committee and the author to ensure that they address a lot of the concerns that we have, mostly around public safety, local enforcement, and then also the other thing that's not really addressed in the analysis, and I want to kind of reiterate, is this issue of quotas on the amount of vehicles on our roads. As you know, our transportation funding, our transportation system is already significantly underfunded, and we have concerns about the congestion and wear and tear on our existing transportation infrastructure. So if we can continue to have that conversation, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Tom Diesso. I've been a San Francisco cab driver since 1975, and I don't support this bill. Thank you.
Mary McGuire, San Francisco taxi cab driver and former San Francisco taxi cab commissioner for 7 years. So I hope somebody will tell me that I read this wrong about the insurance. We're lowering our we should be raising the standards, like these guys said, for the TNCs instead of lowering our standards. $15,000 per person, $30,000 for the death of 2 or more persons in any one accident. I mean, you know, a funeral costs $15,000. Property damage limit of $5,000. You know, you get your car, just a fender bender is going to be $5,000, $6,000. So I really hope I hope I'm wrong, but I hope you look at this inadequate coverage, because who will pay for this in the end? One of the drivers back there said, when I brought this up to him, I feel that the individual permit holder could possibly be stuck with the extra cost by being sued, and they could lose their house, they could lose everything. And one of these drivers said, well, my boss wouldn't ever do that to me. Well, when your boss has to compete with the others, maybe your boss is a great guy and he wants the full insurance coverage, but when his competitor starts lowering their standards, this is what's going to happen. So I really hope you look at this, because it's frightening. It's really frightening, and as a permit holder myself, I don't want to lose everything that I have. Okay, so I hope you look at that again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. State your name and your position on the bill, if you will, please. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Ann McVeigh, and I am against this, and I'm an owner-operator of a taxi cab company. And I was just shocked at that bill, but I'm also not surprised that Mr. Lowe also sponsored or wrote 828, which is saying that, you know, commercial taxis, you know, TNCs are not commercial when people pay them for transportation. I mean, it's sort of Orwellian doublespeak. This bill, AB 60, is validating the unregulated mess that we have in San Francisco. It takes 45 minutes to go from Pacific Heights to downtown now. I mean, it is just 37,000 TNCs in San Francisco, plus the bill. I mean, administratively, it's like a confusing, it's a kitchen sink. Everything in the cab company about cab businesses thrown in there. I heard that Mr. Lowe owns 40 cabs in San Diego. I don't know, but I mean, this is a race to the bottom. People will be competing, sleeping in their cabs. It's going to be very dangerous. There's no regulation at all. Just administratively, it's a mess. I mean, you're creating 6 regions, and then they say they're not going to fix prices, and then they're going to say they're going to delegate that. It's contradictory. I mean, this bill is a mess, but the basic thing is the TNC only has, the CPUC only has 15 enforcement officers for all of Northern California. And it's not doing its job. It can't possibly do its job with 160,000 taxis. I mean, this is just an absurd, self-serving thing. And they're playing on the word level the playing field because people know that the TNCs and cab companies are not operating on a level playing field, but they're sort of doing a word spin, pretending to help, but actually they're lowering the standards, they're endangering the public, and the CPUC should never have been allowed to create this category because they had no enforcement power. And I don't understand why the people of California aren't suing the CPUC.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Marcelo Fonseca, career cab driver, full-time driver for almost 28 years in San Francisco. It's very difficult to come up here and not show any emotions when I address taxis versus TNCs, but this is more than taxis versus TNCs issue. It's a public safety issue. To lower the standards for taxis and put them under the umbrella of a regulatory agency that we know very well has a bad record when it comes to safety, you're jeopardizing public safety. I do not support this bill. Thank you,
sir. Anyone else out there in the public like to comment on this bill? You know, I have to chime in terms of my own feelings about this. All capitalism, and this is just a fact, all capitalism leads to monopolies unless you have a regulated capitalism. A regulated capitalism can achieve those objectives that a society wants to create, like a middle class. In the instance of transportation, you create policy to provide for the public safety, for the consumer protection, for the worker protection, and there's 100 years of policy work that has gone into regulating taxis. Now, I'll agree there's a lot of parts of the taxi industry that is clearly outdated and in need of being revamped. But that's the local government's responsibility. You have cities like San Francisco that are very different from cities like Fresno, which are very different from cities like Visalia, or very different from cities like El Centro in my district. Some cities find it very, very hard to keep a taxi in operation in their jurisdiction. But taxi services or transportation is an essential service to keep an economy afloat and keep an economy vibrant. It's essential. It's a component you cannot remove and still have a successful economy. When this legislature decided to put the administration of the TNCs under the PUC, they made an enormous error. This legislature made an enormous error that now we can't fix, that we cannot undo. It's been a disaster, to be honest with you. We have a situation now where we're creating a monopoly in this state because we have allowed an industry to operate in a virtual absence of any kind of regulation, to compete with industries that are very heavily regulated. And what's very interesting about that is when that decision was made by this legislature, a lot of members said, okay, this is the first step. The ensuing step is to create regulation. We understand that regulation will come, but we have not had a single bill following that bill come to regulate this industry. Quite the contrary. We've seen a slew of bills that, in addition to creating no regulation, have sought to approve bills that confirm that there should be no regulation. That's a far departure from saying we need to regulate this industry. Quite the contrary, we're saying let's give this industry more exemptions. Now that goes very far from what our charge is in government, to regulate industry, to create the kind of things we want. We want drivers to earn a living. We want these vehicles, these services, to provide services to all sectors of the population, to people with disabilities, to people that have problems, income access and other physical access issues. We want them to do that. We want these vehicles to be friendly to the environment. And in different parts, I know in San Francisco, LA, San Diego, we have those jurisdictions putting a heavy load on taxis to do that. And guess what? They're doing it. They're complying with these rules. Yet we create another completely different environment for a different business to say, you know what? No respect for the environment, no respect for people with disabilities, no respect to workers. The only people that we care about are the operators, and that they make a big profit. And nothing has been given in terms of direction that underserved communities be served better. These businesses, these operators are going to the most lucrative markets. They're going to the most lucrative markets, and that's where the consumers are seeing the benefits of lower prices, which is the real issue. People have flocked to Uber. Lower prices. Lower prices, though, means that these drivers are getting paid less. That's why they're part-time drivers. They're not full-time, they're part-time. And that's a disservice that we're doing to the worker out there. Compound that by the fact that the PUC does not have the resources to supervise 180,000 vehicles. 180,000 vehicles. They mentioned Northern California having 15 and Southern California having about 22. That is nothing. We have no real ability to ensure people are respecting the law in the state of California in this area. And that's a big problem to the consumers, to the operators, to everybody as a whole. And so when I look at this bill, what I hope this bill is not trying to accomplish is a race to the bottom, right? Where let's eliminate regulation for one because we did it to another. And for the sake of appearances now, let's eliminate these important consumer and employee protections to level the playing field. But I see this bill, and it does not level the playing field, so let's not say that it will, because it won't, because this bill actually has more protections and more rules in place than the other industry has already. So this is, moving it to the PUC, I think, in terms of trying to correct a wrong that was done by the state, well, maybe it gets us closer to there. Maybe this is the way we correct it. But I honestly, for the sake of this exercise, because can the PUC handle this? I don't think they can. And I don't think the governor will sign that. I don't think Baker will support that. But for the sake of going down this path, I'll work with you. I'll work with you. I think the bill falls short of that, and we have to address some important issues that have to deal with the race to the bottom. We cannot have this race to the bottom. It's not good for our economy. It's not good for our workers. It's not good for our state. It's not good for the public safety. We've seen bills come forward in different industries that address accidents. And let's create a law for that. But there have been accidents, there have been deaths, there have been problems with this industry, but not one bill has risen to address that. And that's where I have pause. That's where I think this legislature needs to be fair as a whole to this entire industry, and we haven't. We have failed to do our job here. But I'm willing to work with you, Assembly Member, to fine-tune this bill a little bit more. I think it's lacking in its current form. But I want to work with you to make some amendments to the bill that address some of these issues. We have lots of shortcomings here. But there are some issues having to do with local control that address local markets that are very different. And that's why we address zoning differently in every single jurisdiction. We address transportation differently in every single jurisdiction because every jurisdiction is different in density and population and economy and need. And I think we're going to have a hard time with that. But I'll give you a chance to reply right now. But I know we have. Did anybody else want to comment on this? Okay. Did you want to? Yeah. Did you want to make any? I can
do my close if you.
Yeah, and let me know if you're interested in maybe making some amendments to the bill that address some of the issues I mentioned. No one else wants to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and do appreciate this amendment bringing this forward. I'll make mine really quick. In this committee, we have been dealing with this issue now for 2 years. And there's really two solutions in front of us. Either we look at equal level of regulations, which is why I believe this amendment is bringing this forward today, or we move a bill or bills that would bring ride-sharing operations to the same standard as taxis. And what we've seen over the last 18 months, that's not going to happen. And the choice that we have, while it may not be ideal, is going back, as the chair had said, dealing with some of the decisions, quite frankly, in hindsight, probably weren't the best to be able to put this massive industry in a department that is extremely understaffed and under-resourced. And I believe, and looking to the chair, because I know this is an item that he's been a leader on, this is probably just the start, because it is going to take several years to be able to bring the taxi cab industry into compliance as we see with ride-sharing services. And what I mean by into compliance is at a level playing field. And right now we do have two different sets of standards that frankly is not fair. And we also have legacy costs on an industry, taxis, that we're going to need to be able to address. We're also going to need to be able to bring local partners into the discussion as well, because the whole system has been based at the local level. So I think this is an important first step. We've tried alternatives before. They did not move. So I appreciate the chair saying going to be working, because I think it is the only way to be able to go, and also understand that it is going to be difficult in the months to come. But I appreciate you tackling this as well, so I'm in as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So TNCs epitomize the phrase beg forgiveness rather than ask permission, right? They just kind of started, and it's been the wild, wild west. There have been no regulation, very little. I'm looking at a list of 33 regulations, all of which apply to taxi cabs, only 2 of which apply to TNCs. And as has been established in previous committees, you're doing the same work, right? You're taking people from point A to point B. There's a lot of work to be done on this. I have serious, serious doubts that the PUC is the right place to put these regulations. Today, I'm going to give you a courtesy vote because I agree with the chair that we've got to do something. You know, we've allowed this to happen, and we have to do something, but I will absolutely reserve my right to vote no if we can't get a little more tailored bill and a little more parity. Thank you.
Okay, very well. Anyone else? Did you want to make your closing comments now?
Wonderful. Yes. I want to thank each and every one of you for your comments and for your consideration here today. Certainly, Mr. Chair, you're equally passionate about this particular issue. As many of you may recall, I did author a bill related to the transportation network companies last year, and as co-chair of the Tech Caucus, I believe in the innovation economy and ensuring that California maintains its economic competitiveness. At the same time, as I was dragged into this conversation, it became abundantly clear to me that there was an unfair playing field. And it was my intent, as a result of that, to figure out the best way to find some parity in this. And working with stakeholders alike, it's important that we continue this conversation. As Senator McGuire alluded to and mentioned earlier, these previous pieces of legislation that tried to address some of these other areas did not have the level of success as perhaps it could have. Having said that, I believe that this is an opportunity to continue that conversation forward to assist this industry. With respect to the CPUC, this is the entity that regulates this transportation areas. And so if there is further conversation about another state entity that might be most palatable, most feasible for this, I'm certainly welcome and open to welcoming that conversation. But by default, this is naturally the only entity that takes place. So I'm not wedded to this particular area, and I share some of the concerns. But again, what you are observing here today is a genuine interest to try and find out a way to work in collaboration with all stakeholders alike, and then trying to address these issues and bring these issues to light. We can make incremental steps and changes accordingly, and I want to partner with each and every one of you for that, because I genuinely know and believe that we all want the same in mind, which is to have a working environment, an advantage, a competition for everybody that works, that protects workers, that looks out for the public interest and the consumers alike. So with that, I respectfully ask for your consideration and your aye vote.
Senator Laura and I move the bill.
Okay, we have a motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Do pass as amended to Transportation and Housing Committee. Hueso?
I'm going to pass right now. Come back around to me.
Okay.
later.
Morel? Morel, aye. Canela? Canela, aye. Gaines? Hertzberg? Hertzberg, aye. Hill? Lara? Lara, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? McGuire, aye. Pavley? Wolk? All the absent members.
And Wesso, aye.
Wesso, aye. 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 7-0. So wait for people to.
Yeah, we'll keep the roll open. We'll take up, if we can have the sergeants call the absent members, we're going to take up all the bills that are on the agenda today.